in an earthly monarchy, the successor of a king or a queen they call them a king in waiting or a queen in waiting. In the lesson, for example, I talk about King Charles, and he was Prince Charles and spent about 70 years waiting for his mom. I mean, it sounds almost funny, but the point is that when there's a person who is a monarch in waiting, there are things that they have to do to prepare themselves to qualify. Most monarchs have to show some kind of sacrificial service or in the military or something they do to show that they've earned the right to be where they are. And even though they inherit the throne, they want to demonstrate that they have prepared themselves. And Matthew shows Jesus doing that. He goes to the Jordan to be baptized. He who knew no sin went to be baptized. In fact, John protested. John the Baptist said, I'd rather you baptize me. And Jesus said, suffer it to be so now, because it behooves me to fulfill this righteous act. And so baptism, after baptism, and of course the Father speaks from heaven, and the dove, I mean, there's this heavenly witness to the baptism of Jesus Christ in the Jordan. Well, we notice that after that glorious scene of the voice of God from above, you would think that was enough. But then it says that the Spirit led him away into the wilderness to be tempted of the devil. 40 days, fasting, no food. This is big stuff. And it's because it's part of the preparation. It's part of going to the wilderness, wrestling with the devil. 4 counts. Jesus overcame him by the word of God, which is, he says to the devil, man shall not live by bread alone. When the devil said, cast yourself down from the top of the pinnacle of the temple, he said, do not tempt the Lord your God. Every time he responded with the word of God. And so he was in preparation. And even in his preparation, we find lessons that we can learn that helps us live out our discipleship. And then we find, he had the baptism. And then Jesus, of course, went into the wilderness and was tempted. And we find that in all of these things, he was, in a way, identifying with you and me, with our struggles, with the things that we encounter, the things that we have to deal with. And it reminds us that, life doesn't happen overnight. Even God's promises sometimes require a waiting period. That if we're not prepared, when the Apostle Paul was converted, knocked off of the horse on the road to Damascus, he says he went to Arabia, which is kind of a mysterious statement. We're not even sure what that all means, but symbolically, Paul went into seclusion for a period of time, where he came to terms with who he was, where he was coming from, and what God was calling him to. And I think it's important for us to see that here in the life of Christ. Preparation is crucial. And Matthew shows us how Jesus prepared.